Hi, my name is John Moore, and I'm the current Ward 2 rep on Norwood City Council. First of all, I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you've come this far, you must care a lot about Norwood, and I'm really grateful to live in a community with so many dedicated residents. As you're watching these videos, I would suggest two questions to ask yourself about the candidates. First, how does the candidate approach the position? Second, does this person's vision for Norwood align with mine? Here's why those are important. Because none of us has a crystal ball. So much of what comes before council is hard to predict. And certainly there are some things that we can drive, but we live in a fast-moving world where you never know what's around the corner. So again, what is their approach and what is their vision? My vision for Norwood, and especially Ward 2, is that it continues on this trajectory of becoming one of the best places in the tri-state for families, where kids can have an independent childhood and adults can age gracefully in place. That's my vision, that we play into Norwood's old-timey qualities and make it the best place for families, where kids are safe to stay out until dark playing with their friends, where they have interesting places to go in the form of thriving parks and charming storefront businesses where the shop owners know their name, and where the city and the school board work together to maximize all the qualities of a great neighborhood that don't show up on a state report card. So that's the vision. In terms of how I show up, my approach to the job, I'm a huge nerd for Norwood. I'm the kind of guy that goes through 200 pages on the auditor's site in a night, transposing property value data into a spreadsheet so that I can understand an issue better. Second, I'm accessible. People come up to me all the time at school drop-off, when I'm hanging out at Birdie's coffee shop, they text me, and they ask about city issues. And I always try to show up with the heart of a teacher, with time to give and an ear to listen. For being such a small city, there is so much nuance to what happens here, and I'm always glad to explain those issues. And then third, I'm level-headed. One of the biggest compliments I've got this year came from a longtime Norwoodian who used to listen to my neighborhood podcast called Move Norwood Forward. He said to me, it was always obvious what my wife's politics were, but he never quite knew where I stood. And what he meant by that was that I presented things fairly and objectively. And that really meant a lot. In fact, each of the last two Ward 2 council members have endorsed me in this race, one a Republican and one a Democrat. How often do you see that these days? So that's how I approach the job, as a huge nerd with the heart of a teacher and a level-headed approach. Taking a step back to talk about council and what I've learned over the past 8 months since being appointed to Candace Winterbauer's vacated spot. First of all, some people ask, how did you get appointed to that spot? And frankly, I think it had a lot to do with the contribution I've made to this community. The first of those was the Move Norwood Forward podcast. When I moved here in 2018, I started interviewing new people that I met just to try to understand the city. And I recorded those conversations so that other people could listen to them and kind of learn Norwood through my same eyes. Another thing that I did was start the Hudson Floral Micro Park. There was a vacant lot on that corner there that I, along with other neighbors, was able to give some love to, got a community gathering space there with some park amenities, benches, and flower beds. And then finally, attracting investment to the old pawn shop at Forrest and Williams, which has since become Birdie's coffee shop. On top of that, my wife and I were known for throwing block parties on Hudson Ave, and I think overall, the reason I was appointed was because of my thoughtfulness and community connectedness, and it's been an honor to serve over the past 8 months. Another topic that comes up is, what exactly is council's role in the city? And I like to think about it like this. Council writes the code that runs the computer, but the mayor and his administrative staff actually run the program. So while council might implement a new law, it's up to the administration to enforce that law. So being a council member, there's 3 primary duties that we have. Writing and revising laws, passing a budget that's aligned with top priorities, and representing resident interests and connecting residents with the city staff who can resolve their day-to-day issues. So, drawing on what I've learned during my time on council, here are some of the specific ways that I would hope to continue moving Norwood forward. In terms of laws, I think we're due for an update on some of our building and zoning codes. Many of those ordinances date back 20 or 40 years. It is inevitable that redevelopment will continue to happen, and we need to make sure that those laws reflect the current reality of what's wanted from our built environment. And that also plays into the revitalization of storefronts on Williams Avenue, which is a big priority of mine that's Ward 2 specific. In terms of budget, I'm pushing for more investment in our Parks and Recreation Department. Gabby, April, and Clinton are doing an amazing job with that operation. I mean, look at our senior center. Relaunched in 2024, that has grown leaps and bounds over the past 18 months. But right now, the director has to go out and fundraise $200 every week to put on the senior center lunch on Thursdays. A $10,000 investment there would make a huge difference. In the parks, right now, we're spreading ourselves pretty thin and trying to do a little bit for every park. But what our city's project manager would like to see, and I endorse this, is to invest big at 2 parks every year and make a noticeable difference, rather than spread the money out in such a way that the main line item in a given park might be, it got new doors on the bathroom. Like, that's fine, but I think having an approach where we try to make significant tangible improvements would be a better way to go. Other areas that I want to advocate for are building a great partnership with Xavier, which is where I work my 9 to 5, being a good liaison between the city and the school district, working with the Wasson Way folks to continue to invest in that amenity. And while I haven't talked about the big 3 yet, police, fire, streets, I want to be clear that those will always be the center of attention. They're the top 3 line items in our budget and just a huge area of emphasis and importance for the city. So I want to be clear that I've spent time at the firehouse doing shift change coffee with the guys and talking to Chief McCabe. I've done a ride along with Norwood PD and spent time with Lieutenant Vickers. I've run the numbers on the streets and how long it's going to take to redo every lane in Norwood. And these are all ongoing matters that require a lot more time to unpack than we have today. So with that, I will wrap up by reiterating that my vision for Norwood is to make it the best place in the tri-state for families. When I think about my childhood, there were certain adults that always come up in my childhood stories. Tom and Lisa, Jim and Peg, Mary and Barry. And really the aha moment for me here in Norwood was a couple years ago as I was out meeting neighbors, sitting on the front porch, having a beer, dreaming about our future in the city, and I realized something. That the people I had met here in Norwood were the people that I wanted to be the grown-ups in my son's core childhood memories. Liz and Ryan, Alicia and Colin, Jeremy and Amanda. In the coming years, as we raise our children, pay down our mortgages, make our marks on this community, and grow old together, these are the people that I want to serve, and this is the place that I want to devote myself to. Thank you for your consideration, and I hope that you will vote for more on November 4.